Eli wiped his hands on a rag and looked around the bustling spaceport. Ships of all shapes and sizes hummed, hissed, and occasionally roared as they prepared for takeoff or landing. He had spent the last few hours repairing a cargo ship's engine, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something unusual was about to happen. The spaceport was usually crowded, but today it felt different. A sleek, shining starship descended slowly from the sky, its hull glinting under the twin suns. Its shape was elegant, unlike any human design Eli had seen. People stopped and stared as the ship landed, stepping carefully across the landing ramp. Among the passengers, one figure immediately caught his attention, a tall, striking alien woman. Her skin shimmered with golden light, and faint patterns of bioluminescence moved slowly across her arms and neck. Her eyes were large and bright, reflecting curiosity and intelligence. Eli's heart skipped a beat. He had seen aliens before, but none like her. She moved with grace, yet there was an unmistakable spark of playfulness in her gaze. Eli muttered, under his breath, "Well, this isn't going to be a normal day." He had just finished wiping down the engine panel when she walked toward the maintenance area. Other engineers stepped back politely, unsure whether to greet her or stay out of her way. Eli, however, was drawn forward by a mix of curiosity and nerves. "Hello," he said awkwardly. "I'm Eli. Can I help you with, anything?" The alien woman smiled. Her voice was soft but melodic, carrying a musical tone that made Eli's ears tingle. "I am Lyra," she said. "I am curious about humans and about your world." Eli scratched the back of his neck, suddenly feeling very ordinary. "Well, I'm just an engineer, not exactly an ambassador." He gestured at his worn leather jacket. "This is about as human as I get." Lyra's eyes flicked to the jacket. Her gaze lingered on it longer than seemed necessary. "Interesting," she said. She reached out and Eli instinctively stepped back. "May I?" He blinked. Sure, I guess." Before he could think twice, he shrugged and tossed the jacket toward her with a joking smile. "Here, take it. Looks like it's more your style than mine anyway." To his surprise, Lyra caught it perfectly. She draped it over her shoulders and adjusted it as if it had been made for her. Eli laughed nervously. "You know I was joking." Lyra tilted her head. "I understand. But I like it. It is warm, comfortable." She looked at him with a playful expression that made Eli's stomach twist. "And it is human." Eli scratched his head, trying to hide his embarrassment. "Well, I didn't think you'd actually wear it." "I will," Lyra said simply, "if only for today." And with that, she walked away, moving toward a group of her attendants who had been waiting politely behind her. Eli watched her go, a mix of surprise and amusement on his face. He had never imagined an alien princess would actually accept something, like a joke gift, and wear it proudly. For the rest of the day, Eli found it hard to focus on work. Every few minutes, he glanced up to see if she was still there. She was. Lyra wandered among the shops and walkways, the leather jacket draped elegantly over her shoulders, its edges slightly worn but clearly cherished. People stared, whispered, and took pictures. Yet she seemed completely at ease, entirely herself, despite the attention. Later, Eli found himself near the spaceport cafeteria, sipping a lukewarm cup of coffee. He couldn't stop thinking about Lyra. Why did she take the jacket seriously? Why did she look so comfortable wearing it? Most importantly, why did he feel a strange warmth in his chest whenever he remembered her smile? "Hey, Eli," a voice called. It was his friend and coworker Mara. She was grinning from ear to ear. "You're staring again. The princess, right? She's different." "You could say that," Eli admitted. "I mean, she actually wore my jacket." Mara laughed. "Wow, that's bold. Not many humans would dare joke like that. And she just accepted it?" Eli nodded. "Exactly. I thought she'd laugh or throw it back, but she didn't. She smiled and just wore it." Mara shook her head, amused. "Well, don't overthink it. She's probably just curious about humans. Still, I'd watch out. Royalty can be unpredictable. Eli chuckled, trying to brush it off. Yet as he watched her in the distance, moving gracefully through the crowd, he realized something strange. The jacket was no longer just a piece of clothing. It had become a bridge between him and her. A small human gesture had caught the attention of someone so extraordinary. By the time the sun began to set, Eli returned to his quarters, tired but strangely excited. He hung the jacket back on its hook, though part of him felt it might never truly belong to him again. A soft hum of anticipation ran through him. Tomorrow, he thought, maybe she would wear it again. And somehow he couldn't wait to see it. Little did he know that simple, joking gesture, the tossing of a worn leather jacket, was only the beginning. Lyra had found something in it that resonated with her, something human that made her feel alive, free, and curious. And for Eli, the adventure had just begun, because when an alien princess chooses your jacket, the galaxy tends to notice, and life, in ways you never. The next morning, Eli arrived at the spaceport early, expecting another normal day of engine, repairs and routine work. The bustling crowd seemed the same, and the hum of ships filled the air. Yet something tugged at the back of his mind, a quiet hope tinged with curiosity. He didn't have to wait long. A gleaming starship descended from the sky, moving slowly as it approached the landing bay. And there she was, Princess Lyra. Eli froze. His heart raced. She was wearing his jacket, not draped loosely over her shoulders like yesterday, but zipped up, snug and purposeful, as if it had become part of her. He blinked, unsure whether to laugh, bow, or run away. Good morning," he finally managed, his voice cracking slightly. Lyra turned her glowing eyes toward him. "Good morning, Eli," she said warmly. "I wore your jacket again. It is comforting." "Comforting?" Eli repeated, trying to keep his tone casual. "It's just a jacket. You can wear whatever you want, you know." Lyra tilted her head. "Perhaps, but I like this one. It is human. It is simple. It reminds me of you." Eli felt heat rise to his cheeks. He quickly looked away, pretending to examine the tools in his hands. "Right. Reminds you of me, huh?" "Yes," she said softly. "It is unusual, but good." The next few hours were a blur. Eli noticed that wherever Lyra went in the spaceport, people stared. Some whispered, others took pictures, but she moved confidently, seemingly unaware of the attention. She adjusted the jacket here and there, smiling faintly to herself. Eli's coworker, Mara, appeared beside him with a smirk. "Well," she whispered, nodding toward Lyra, "I'd say your joke turned into something serious." "I don't know," Eli murmured. "She just keeps wearing it. Every time I look, it's like she actually wants it." Mara raised an eyebrow. "Maybe she likes you." Eli coughed nervously. "No, I mean, maybe she likes the jacket. That's different." "Uh-huh," Mara said, grinning. "Sure, Eli. Different." Despite his embarrassment, Eli couldn't deny a strange thrill. The jacket, which had seemed like a simple, worn-out piece of clothing, had suddenly become a bridge between two very different worlds. And Lyra, she was something entirely new to him, radiant and mysterious, yet strangely relatable. By mid-afternoon, Lyra approached Eli again. "May I walk with you?" she asked. Her voice was gentle, polite, but there was a hint of excitement behind it. Eli nodded quickly, unable to hide his surprise. Sure. I mean, yeah, of course." They walked, side by side among the crowded walkways, passing vendors and mechanics, traders and travelers. For a while, neither spoke, letting the sounds of the spaceport fill the silence. Eli noticed how the jacket moved with her, how natural it seemed on an alien body. Finally, Lyra spoke. "Tell me about humans. About you." Eli hesitated. "Me? Well, I fix ships mostly. That's my life. But humans, We try to solve problems, survive, and sometimes laugh at things we shouldn't. He shrugged. That's it, I guess. Lyra listened intently, her glowing patterns pulsing softly as she nodded. I see. You are simple, yet strong. Interesting. Eli laughed awkwardly. Simple and strong, huh? That's a first. Usually people just call me stubborn. You are stubborn, Lyra agreed, smiling. But it is good. It shows courage. The small exchange made Eli's chest tighten. Somehow this alien princess understood him in ways few humans ever had. And all it had taken was a jacket, tossed jokingly, now worn proudly. As the day went on, Eli noticed a pattern. Lyra wore the jacket every time she appeared in public. Sometimes she walked alone, sometimes with her advisors, but always with the jacket zipped up, her posture confident. People stared, some whispering about human fashion influencing alien royalty. Others simply admired her elegance. Eli, however, felt a strange mix of pride and disbelief. During a break, Eli and Lyra sat on a bench overlooking the landing pads. Ships took off and landed in rhythmic patterns, but Eli could barely focus on them. Why the jacket? He asked cautiously. I mean, I didn't think it would matter. Lyra looked at him, her eyes bright and unwavering. It matters. Humans. They are different. You are different. The jacket is a symbol. It is small, yet it connects me to something real. Something not tied to my duties. Eli blinked. You mean me? She smiled softly. Yes. You. The warmth in his chest made him shift uncomfortably. He had never expected an alien princess to care about something as simple as a jacket or a human. And yet, here she was, telling him that a small gift had meaning far bigger. Over the next few days, Eli began to notice a change. Princess Lyra was not just wearing his jacket for novelty or curiosity. She wore it as if it had become part of her daily routine. Every time he arrived at the spaceport, she was there, gliding gracefully among humans and aliens alike, the jacket fitting her perfectly. Eli could hardly believe it. What had started as a joke had turned into something significant. He found himself looking forward to seeing her, wondering what small thing she might say or do next. One afternoon, while Eli was fixing a small shuttle engine, he felt a familiar shadow fall across his workbench. He looked up to see Lyra standing there, jacket zipped tightly, her golden skin glowing softly under the spaceport lights. Hello, Eli, she said warmly. May I help? Eli blinked, unsure what to say. Help? With the engine? She nodded. I wish to understand your work. Human technology is different. I want to learn. Eli hesitated but then shrugged. Sure. I mean, it's mostly simple stuff once you know the basics. He pointed to the engine. This is a fusion drive. We use it to power small ships. The controls are complex, but the principle is straightforward. Lyra knelt slightly, to observe. Fascinating, she murmured. Her fingers hovered over the engine, not touching but studying every detail. Eli noticed how carefully she looked, how her eyes moved from one component to another, absorbing every piece of information. You're very precise, he said. Most people just poke at it until it works. Lyra smiled softly. I wish to learn. It is human, and I find it appealing. Eli felt a small rush of pride. She appreciated his work, his world, and even his humor. The jacket, he realized, was more than a gift. It was now a symbol of connection, a small human thing that had opened a door to something extraordinary. As the afternoon stretched on, they continued working side by side. Eli showed her how to adjust energy conduits, check fuel levels, and read engine diagnostics. Lyra listened carefully, asking thoughtful questions. When she misunderstood something, Eli corrected her patiently, explaining with simple words. You humans think in unusual ways, she said finally, stepping back to admire her own work. You make mistakes, yet you continue. You laugh at small failures. It is inspiring. Eli laughed, feeling a warmth he had never expected. Well, we have to survive somehow. Might as well enjoy it. After the engine was stable, Lyra adjusted the jacket on her shoulders and looked at him. Eli, may I speak freely? Of course, he said, curious. You are different. Humans are different, and I like it. The jacket, it is a bridge. Yes, but you are why I wear it. It reminds me of you. Eli felt his heart race. He had never thought a simple gift could carry so much meaning. Lyra, I don't know what to say. You need not say anything, she replied, her glowing patterns pulsing softly. I only wish to share time with you, to learn, to laugh, to understand. From that day on, their friendship grew quietly but steadily. Lyra began visiting the human colony outside the spaceport. She walked among the marketplaces, tasted human foods, and listened to the stories of workers and travelers. Every time she wore the jacket, Eli would meet her in secret, and they would talk, laugh, or work on small projects together. Eli noticed that she was becoming increasingly curious about human life. She asked questions about friendship, family, music, and games. She marveled at human habits, from simple gestures to complicated traditions. Eli found himself explaining things he had taken for granted, realizing that seeing his world through her eyes made it feel extraordinary. One evening, as the suns dipped below the horizon, Eli and Lyra sat on a quiet hill overlooking the colony. The sky was painted with shades of orange and purple, and the twin moons began to rise. Eli tugged nervously at the hem of his shirt, unsure how to start the conversation. Lyra, do you always wear the jacket? He asked carefully. She looked down at it, then back at him with a soft smile. Yes, it is comforting. It reminds me that there is someone human, kind, and true. Someone who treats me as I am, not as a princess. Eli felt his chest tighten. I didn't expect a joke to matter so much. It is more than a joke, she said simply. It is human warmth, connection, friendship. It matters, Eli, because you are human, and you are you. For a long moment they sat in silence, watching the moons rise and the stars appear. The jacket, small and simple, seemed to carry more weight than any royal robe. It was a symbol of trust, curiosity, and growing admiration between two very different worlds. As the nights passed, their secret meetings continued. Lyra learned to repair engines, navigate human markets, and even tell jokes, though her humor was different from Eli's. And Eli, in turn, learned to see his world through her eyes, appreciating its small wonders and its unspoken courage. Yet, not all was simple. Some of Lyra's advisors noticed her frequent absences and her unusual attachment to human things. They whispered caution, warning her that spending too much time with humans could compromise her duties. Lyra ignored them, but a small worry sometimes flickered across her glowing patterns. Eli, unaware of the full extent of court politics, continued to teach and laugh with her. He never realized how much impact their friendship would have, not just for them, but for the worlds around them. By the end of Part 3, it was clear a single jacket had turned a playful joke into the foundation of a deep, genuine friendship. Eli had shown Lyra the human world in small, simple ways, and she had opened a window into her extraordinary life. Both had begun to understand that connection, trust, and curiosity could bridge the vast differences between their species. And, for Eli, the realization was simple. Life had become far more interesting than he had ever imagined. Days turned into weeks, and Eli had grown used to Princess Lyra's visits. She appeared almost every day, always wearing his jacket. Sometimes she joined him in the workshop, asking endless questions about human machines. Other times she followed him through the marketplace, tasting food and laughing at things humans considered ordinary. But it didn't take long for whispers to grow louder. Lyra's advisors had noticed her unusual habits. They saw her leaving, the royal ship in disguise, only to return smelling of engine grease or carrying human food she had no reason to eat. Most of all, they noticed the jacket. Always the jacket. Inside the alien royal quarters, the advisors confronted her. "Princess," one of them said sternly, his voice echoing across the chamber. "You dishonor tradition. You are royalty, yet you parade around in human clothes. Why?" Lyra stood tall, her golden skin glowing faintly, but her hand tugged at the edge of the jacket as though it gave her strength. "Because it is mine," she answered calmly. "It was given to me as a gift. It reminds me of freedom, of choice." "Humans are not our equals," another advisor snapped. "They are reckless. If you show such interest, the council will question your loyalty." Lyra's glowing patterns flickered with frustration. "And yet humans survive where others would fall. They create, they laugh, they endure. Is that not worth respecting?" The advisors exchanged uneasy glances but pressed no further. They bowed stiffly and left, though their faces carried warning. When Lyra later found Eli, she looked unsettled. He noticed it immediately as she approached him in the workshop. "Something wrong?" he asked, setting down a wrench. She hesitated. "My advisors, they wish me to stop wearing this jacket. They say it is unworthy of royalty." Eli frowned. "Well, they might have a point. You're a princess. Maybe wearing something from a random mechanic isn't what they expect." Her eyes flashed, and her voice grew firm. "It is not about expectation. It is about me. This jacket makes me feel real, not just a symbol for others. When I wear it, I am Lyra, not only Princess Lyra." Eli didn't know what to say. He wasn't used to being the center of something so important. For him, the jacket was just old leather, stained, patched, nothing special. But for her, it had become more than clothing. It was a choice, maybe even a statement. "Well," Eli said softly, "then keep it. If it matters to you, that's enough." Lyra smiled faintly, her glowing patterns softening. "Thank you, Eli. You understand, even when others do not." That evening, Lyra asked Eli to walk with her beyond the colony. They climbed a ridge overlooking the wide desert plains, the sky painted red by the setting suns, the wind blew gently, and the jacket rippled against her golden skin. "Eli," she said, sitting on a rock, "my life has always been duty. Every word I speak, every step I take is measured. But with you, it is different. You see me as just a person. That is why I treasure this gift. It is more than fabric. It is freedom." Eli sat beside her, unsure what to say. "I don't know why you picked me, Lyra. I'm just an engineer. I fix broken things. I don't belong in royal courts." She looked at him, her glowing eyes steady. "Maybe that is why. Because you are not trying to impress me. You are simply yourself, and that is rare." The words lingered in the air. Eli looked out over the desert, his chest tight with emotions he couldn't name. Somehow, this alien princess trusted him, cared for his opinion, and found meaning in something he had given away as a joke. But not everyone was pleased. Over the next days, the advisors began to interfere. They insisted Lyra attend more royal meetings and ceremonies. They urged her to wear traditional robes instead of the jacket. Yet every time she stepped out in public, the jacket remained firmly on her shoulders as if defying them. Eli noticed the strain on her face. The calm days of laughter and quiet friendship did not last. One morning, the spaceport filled with tension as news spread across the colony. A neighboring alien system had issued a warning. Their fleet was moving closer, their words sharp and filled with threats. Eli heard the news while tightening bolts on a transport ship. Mechanics around him muttered nervously. Traders packed their stalls and travelers rushed to leave. It felt like the whole colony was holding its breath. He didn't have to wait long before Lyra appeared, walking quickly toward him. The jacket was zipped tight against her chest, the sleeves rolled up just slightly, giving her a strangely human look. But her expression was serious, her glowing patterns flickering in fast, worried rhythms. "Eli," she said quietly, There is trouble. He nodded. I heard. Another system is threatening your world. Lyra's eyes softened, but there was no hiding her concern. Yes. They demand tribute and control. If we refuse, they will bring war. Eli leaned against the ship, folding his arms. And your advisors, what do they say? They argue, she admitted. Some want to give in, others want to show strength, but no one agrees. I fear they will waste time with words while danger grows. Eli studied her. She was a princess, carrying the weight of a people on her shoulders. Yet she stood in front of him, seeking advice from a human engineer with grease on his hands. So, why come to me? He asked. Because you think differently, Lyra answered. You do not speak like an advisor. You see problems as challenges, not as endless debates. I need that now. Eli scratched his head. Well, I'm no strategist, but humans. We've had our share of threats. When someone tries to push you, you don't always push back the same way. Sometimes you surprise them. Lyra tilted her head, curious. Surprise them? He nodded. Yes. Show them something they don't expect. Something that makes them stop and think. Sometimes that's enough to avoid a fight. For a long moment, Lyra was silent. Then she smiled faintly, her patterns slowing. Perhaps your human way is what we need. The next day, Lyra attended a council meeting. Her advisors filled the room, voices rising in heated debate. Some argued for tribute, others for open war. None noticed when Lyra quietly adjusted the jacket around her shoulders, drawing strength from its familiar weight. Finally, she stood. Enough, she said firmly, her voice cutting through the noise. We will not give in and we will not rush to war. We will show them something new, something they do not expect. The room fell silent. Her advisors exchanged uneasy glances, but Lyra's gaze was steady. Prepare a message, she commanded. We will speak not with fear, not with threats, but with calm strength. When the message was sent, it carried Lyra's image to the rival system. She stood tall, the human jacket plain but striking against her golden skin. She spoke with clarity, her voice steady. We do not fear you, she declared. We will not be slaves, but we are not your enemies either. We choose a different path. If you seek conflict, you will find us ready. If you seek reason, you will find us stronger than you imagine. Across the colony, people watched the broadcast. Humans, aliens, traders, and workers. All were struck by the sight of a princess wearing a simple human jacket while standing against a powerful threat. Eli watched from the workshop, pride swelling in his chest. She wasn't just a princess, anymore. She was a leader, and somehow a part of him was there with her. When the rival system received the message, they hesitated. They had expected fear or desperate offers of tribute. Instead, they saw confidence. They saw something unexpected, an alien princess borrowing human courage. For days, tension hung in the air. Scouts reported enemy fleets moving, then stopping. Messages passed back and forth filled with half-threats and questions. But slowly the danger began to fade. The rival system pulled back, unsettled but unwilling to test Lyra's resolve. When peace finally returned, Lyra found Eli at the edge of the colony, sitting on a crate under the stars. She approached quietly, her jacket rustling in the cool night air. It worked, she said softly. They have withdrawn. Eli let out a long breath. That's a relief. I was starting to wonder if I gave you the wrong advice. Lyra sat beside him, her glowing eyes gentle. You gave me courage. You reminded me that strength does not always mean war. Sometimes it means standing firm, showing a different way. She tugged at the jacket with a small smile. And this gave me confidence. Every time I touched it, I remembered you. I remembered humanity. Eli looked at her, unsure how to respond. Finally, he said quietly, I'm glad I could help. For a while, they sat in silence, watching the stars scatter across the sky. Ships drifted in orbit, their lights blinking faintly, but the night felt calm, almost peaceful. Lyra broke the silence. Eli, do you know why I truly wear this jacket? He turned toward her. Because it's comfortable? He joked weakly. She smiled. No. Because it reminds me that friendship can be simple, honest, and strong. In my world, gifts are often heavy with meaning. But you gave this without weight, without demand. That is why it matters. Eli's throat tightened. He had never thought his small act would carry such importance, but now he understood. It wasn't about the jacket. It was about what it represented. Humanity's way of connecting, of sharing, without expectation. And for Lyra, that was something worth wearing every day. The sun was setting over the human colony, painting the sky with soft shades of red and gold. Eli sat near the shipyard, cleaning his tools after a long day of work. His hands were tired, but his thoughts were far away. He wondered if Princess Lyra would ever return. It had been weeks since the crisis, and he had not seen her since she left for her home world. He tried to tell himself that she was a princess, busy with duties far greater than spending time with a mechanic. But deep down he missed her presence, the way she laughed at human jokes she barely understood, the way her glowing patterns flickered when she was curious, and of course, the way she always wore his old jacket as if it were her crown. Just as he sighed and set down his wrench, he heard voices near the landing pad. A royal shuttle was descending slowly, its lights blinking in the evening sky. Eli stood, his heart beating faster. Only one person he knew traveled with such a ship. The shuttle door opened and Lyra stepped out. She was wearing the jacket. Even from a distance, Eli could see the familiar fabric, slightly worn, but now carried with pride. Around her shoulders, the alien royal robe was missing. She had chosen the jacket instead. Eli smiled despite himself. "You came back," he said softly. Lyra walked toward him, her glowing patterns shimmering warmly. "Of course I did," she answered. "I promised you I would return. And besides, this jacket of yours has become a part of me. Without it, I feel incomplete." Eli rubbed the back of his neck, embarrassed. "It's just an old thing. You shouldn't treat it like some treasure." "But it is a treasure," Lyra replied gently. "Not because of what it is made of, but because of what it means. It is a symbol, a reminder that even in the middle of duty, tradition, and politics, I can still be myself. You gave it to me without expecting anything in return. That is why I value it." For a moment they stood in silence, the sound of the evening breeze moving through the shipyard around them. Finally, Eli spoke again. "How did it go? The crisis, I mean. Did you settle it?" Lyra nodded, her face calm but proud. "Yes, we found peace, at least for now. Your advice helped. The way humans think, simple, direct, yet creative. It gave me the courage to see beyond what my advisors told me. I could not have done it without you." Eli chuckled. "I doubt I did much. You're the one who stood before everyone and made the decision." "Perhaps," Lyra said, her eyes meeting his. "But sometimes even a princess needs someone to remind her she is not alone." The words struck Eli deeply. He realized then that their bond was more than chance. What began as a joke had grown into something real, something that connected two different worlds. The workers in the shipyard watched from a distance, whispering in surprise. Many of them had never seen a royal figure act so close with an ordinary mechanic. But Eli didn't care. Neither did Lyra. Lyra turned to face the watching humans, her jacket moving lightly in the wind. "This jacket is no longer just human clothing," she declared in her clear voice. "It is a bridge, a sign that our people and humans are not so different. We can learn from each other, we can grow together." Her words carried across the yard, and for a moment there was silence. Then a few humans clapped. Soon, more joined. The sound grew, filling the air with support and hope. Lyra smiled, her glowing patterns brightening like stars. Later, as the night sky rose and stars filled the darkness, Eli and Lyra walked side by side near the colony lights. "So," Eli said, half teasing, Are you planning to keep my jacket? Forever? Lyra tilted her head playfully. Would you like it back? Eli shook his head. No, it suits you more than me now. Good, she replied with a small laugh. Because I do not intend to give it back. It is mine now, in every way that matters. They both laughed, the tension of the past weeks finally gone. For Eli, it was strange and almost unbelievable. He had never imagined that giving away an old jacket would lead to friendship with an alien princess, or that it would become a symbol powerful enough to inspire two worlds. But life, he realized, was full of surprises. As they stood under the stars, Eli looked at Lyra and thought about the future. The galaxy was wide, filled with challenges own danger.